The phrase money laundering conjures up images of stacks of cash being washed in a giant industrial washing machine to remove all the identifying marks from it. It has the go-to trope in movies and TV shows when a criminal needs to clean up their dirty money. But how do criminals actually launder money? Are there any real-life examples of money laundering? Turns out that there are plenty, and today we're going to tell you all about them. Welcome to our channel. Money laundering is the process criminals use to make illegally obtained money look like it came from a legitimate source. This is important for them to do, or they stick out like a sore thumb and might even get themselves into trouble with the law. There are 3 steps to money laundering: placement, layering, and integration. Placement is where the criminal puts the dirty money into a legitimate account or business. The second step, layering, involves moving the money through a series of transactions to make it harder to trace. Finally, in the integration stage, the money is put back into the criminal's hands in cash without any record of the transaction. Let's take a look at a real-life example of money laundering to see how this works. In 2013, an Australian man named William John Cozen was sentenced to 7 years in prison for his role in laundering more than $660 million for an international crime syndicate. How did he do it? Well, his job was the placement stage of the process. His job was to transfer the dirty money into legitimate businesses and accounts that would allow it to be moved around easily. He moved the money by making small deposits into bank accounts around Australia and then transferred the funds to various international accounts. By making these small deposits, he avoided reporting requirements and made it more difficult for authorities to track the money. Another example of placement can be seen in the case of a New York City nightclub owner named Sean P. Carter. Carter owned a popular club frequented by drug dealers and other criminals who paid him in cash for the right to sell drugs outside the club. To launder the money, he simply deposited the cash into his personal bank account without reporting it. This made it look like the money came from his legitimate business instead of from illegal drug sales. Once the money has been placed into a legitimate account, the next step is to layer it. This is where the criminal makes a series of transactions to make it more difficult to trace the money. They might move the money between different bank accounts or invest it in different assets. For example, criminals might buy and sell stocks, bonds, or other financial instruments to make it harder to follow the money trail. Another common method of layering is to buy and sell luxury items such as cars, jewelry, or art. These items can then be sold quickly for cash if needed. A Russian crime boss named Semyon Mogilovich was a master at using the layering technique. When he was arrested in 2003, authorities found that he had moved his money around the world through a complex web of shell companies and bank accounts. He also invested heavily in real estate and luxury items to hide his wealth. The final step in the money laundering process is integration. This is when the money is moved into the criminal's hands in a way that doesn't raise any red flags. They might withdraw the money from a bank account or sell an investment for cash. For example, if a criminal had bought a house with the dirty money, they might sell the house and pocket the cash. One of the most famous cases of money laundering involved a Colombian drug lord named Pablo Escobar. Escobar was so wealthy that he had to carry around wheelbarrows of cash just to pay for basic goods and services. He was eventually killed by authorities in 1993, but not before laundering billions of dollars through his various businesses. One of his most trusted associates, Carlos Slattery, was convicted of money laundering in the United States in 2009 and sentenced to 30 years in prison. As you can see, money laundering is a complex process that can be difficult to detect. Criminals have gotten very creative over the years in finding new ways to launder money. As a result, authorities are constantly working to develop new methods for catching money launderers. Thanks for watching. Do you know of any other real-life examples of money laundering? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this.